Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is a very important topic, again, surrounding the so-called Black community. And I wanted to talk about how, so-called Black Americans, we are not a monolith. We're not. We're not a monolith. We are not all the same. And I think that the media, you know, um, hip hop stations, movies, they have really just not done us good. They have not painted us in a good light. And unfortunately, the majority of, other cultures, they have this view on us like we are all the same. And it irks me, it really just annoys me. I'm so tired of it because as so-called Black women and light-skinned women, and even if you consider yourself mixed, you have two mixed parents, you are affected by this. Whether you want to believe it or not, you are affected by this. And it really doesn't matter your skin tone. You are going to have a stereotype placed on you because of what has been shown in the media regarding our culture. Now, I'm going to say, like, particularly for so-called Black women, and you're going to hear me say so-called Black a lot on this channel because if you guys have watched my earlier videos, you know that I am on my own journey to discover exactly what I am mixed with. And there's just so much negativity around the term Black. It is. There is a YouTuber that I actually watch. His name is Dane Calloway, if any of you want to go check him out. But he puts a lot of perspective into the negative associations with the term Black. And he also talks about how, the designation for our term or whatever we're going to be called, it went through like a lot over the decades. It has went through a lot over the centuries. We went from being called colored to, I think it was from colored, and then or from Negro to colored, and then to African American, and now to Black. It's ridiculous, but check him out. His name's Dane Calloway. But anyway, you're going to hear me say so-called Black a lot on this channel. That just means, I'm particularly referencing the typical African American community, okay? But you will hear me say so-called Black because I don't like just associating everybody with Black because I feel like there's so many of us that really don't know everything that we are. And, America is the ones that subscribe to the one drop rule, and they don't want to acknowledge anything else that anyone else is mixed with. And I have a problem with that. But anyway, specifically for Black, so-called Black women, light skin, dark skin, it doesn't matter. We have been really hurt by the stereotypes that have been placed on us in these videos, these music videos, TV, everything. And it affects us out in society on an everyday basis. And I'm going to say that it particularly affects us in the job market. When we're trying to go to get jobs, we're trying to get these decent careers to where we can take care of ourselves and take care of our family. We're trying to level up, get an education. A lot of the times it's like we automatically have a label placed on us. And it's just so tiring. It's just so sickening that we just cannot be ourselves. Like, the typical angry black woman, or ghetto black woman, or just ratchet black woman. Like, it's not going away. It's with us. Like, it's almost like this is ingrained in how people see us. And it just really upsets me, because you could be a woman that you're not even like that, but there are certain things about yourself that are distinct from someone else. You might like looking good and keeping your hair done, and you care about your appearance, and whether you wear lace fronts, you wear ponytails, or you wear makeup, or whatever it is. You like jewelry, you like big jewelry. There's just certain things about yourself that is your style, right? But in society, it's like they will view it a different way. It's like they will automatically associate you with someone that they can compare you to on television, or someone that they have seen. So for instance, you can have like a phenotype like Cardi B. You can have Cardi B style, you like her style and everything, but that doesn't mean that you're like Cardi B. It doesn't mean that you're like Cardi B. You just might like her style, or you might like the way she wears her hair, and you like your hair like that, but the rest of the world, many times more than not, they're going to find someone that they can kind of associate you to, and they're going to attempt to judge you off of that until you set boundaries for yourself. And especially like with men, and particularly, let me be specific, particularly black men are the ones that do this the most. They could see a black woman, light skin or dark skin, and it's like, I think Exoticals United has talked about this before, how like they're so brainwashed in porn and stuff like that. It's like they see you, and you don't even have to be like, going all out. You know what I'm saying? You're just like yourself. You might have your hair done that day. You might have on a cute skirt that day, some cute sandals, but they are going to objectify you and automatically see you as this porn star that they've had in their mind, that they've been jacking off to. It's crazy. We go through a lot, but particularly the so-called black community, the so-called black Americans that make up the so-called black communities, we are not a monolith. We are not all the same. All black women are not ghetto. All black women are not loud. All black women do not talk ebonics. It gets on my nerves. I was raised in a household, both my parents, before they divorced, but I was pretty much raised in a home with two parents. And my dad was military, so we did travel across the country quite a bit. And that may have something to do with like the way that I talk, the way me and my sisters and my brother talk, because it's like we weren't really like raised in a specific area. And I've noticed that, a lot of the times, if you're raised like in a specific area, you pick up that specific dialect of the people that you're around. But I have had, like, growing up, I remember like being told before that like I talk white, or even my sisters, they've been told that before. And it's like, to us, we don't talk white. To us, we just talk. This is the way that we talk. And that's a big problem in the so-called black community. It's like, it's gotten so bad to where it's like people think that you have to talk ebonics to be black. It's like, it's like ingrained in our culture. And again, I blame it on hip hop. I blame it on the media, all these, just the whole 90s movement with rap and hip hop. I blame it on all of that. And it's just so bad to where like other cultures really think that is what like we're all about. And it's not. And it's so hard for them to understand. They don't get it that we're not all alike. We're all different. We talk different. We have our own different styles. You have shy so-called black girls. You have extroverted so-called black girls. You have shy introverted so-called black men. You know, it's just there's so many of us and we're so different. And it just makes it that much difficult in society to just navigate through this society with all of these stereotypes placed on us the way they are. I feel like our culture is like the main culture that has just so many stereotypes placed on us that are just so untrue. And it makes it harder for us, you know. Um, but yeah, we're not a monolith. And I also think that in the so-called black community, there is a problem with people trying to prove their blackness. And I see this more with lighter skinned so-called blacks. I really do. I see it. Sometimes I see like so-called light skinned, you know, black, so-called black women, um, just so aggressive and like the way they talk. And it's like, you don't have to do all that, honey. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know some women were just raised like that, depending on where you know, depending on like what community you're from and everything. But sometimes some of these black women that I see out in public, they're just doing too much. Like they purposefully, it's like they want to feed into the stereotype. They want to prove to the other, I guess, the other black people in the room that they're black too. That is a big problem in the so-called black community. It's a huge problem. And I don't know where that comes from, but um I have noticed that a lot with lighter skinned black Americans, that they feel like they have to prove themselves, you know, like I am black. There was a video that I saw a couple of weeks ago. If I can find the video, I'll probably make a YouTube video about it. But it was some lady on TikTok. I guess she was like originally from Louisiana. I think she was Creole or something. But I guess she was like crying on the video, and she was like proving to herself that I'm sorry, not proving to herself, proving to the people like in her comments and stuff that she was black. And I guess there was people saying you are not black, and she was crying, and she was like just trying to ask them like, please, you know, it was like begging. She was like begging them like, please see that I'm black. And let me tell you guys, this woman, she looked all Creole to me. I mean, you know, like Tina Knowles, she was like on Tina Knowles level, but with gray eyes. This woman looked Creole to me. This woman did not look black to me. I mean, you can tell, you know, she had some in her, but my first reaction to her, I'm looking at her like, lady, you don't even look like full black. Like you have 3A wavy hair. You're very, very light skinned, you know. She could have passed for a white woman. That's how light she was. She could have passed for a white woman, and she had like grayish eyes. And she was just crying and going on about her ancestry and everything. And I'm like, that is a big problem too with a lot of light skinned people. They it's like they have to prove themselves, trying to prove themselves that they are black. Look, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody, okay? You really don't. In the so-called black community, really, it doesn't really matter your hair texture. Other so-called black Americans can tell if you have black in you, okay? They can tell. It's very easy to tell. You could tell by your facial features. You might have some like a wider nose, fuller lips, your hair, even if your hair is like more finer, or trust me, so-called black people can usually tell if you have some black in you, okay? And it is what it is. You know, you may not have a big percentage of black in you, but that's fine. It is what it is. But you should never have to prove yourself to a community that you're black like them. No, that's a problem. If people in the so-called black community wants to shut out others because they're simply because they're lighter, let them. I say let's form new communities, honestly. Because it's really ridiculous at this point, and it's crazy to me how so many so-called black Americans feel like as long as you're past a certain color on the darker scale, then you're considered black. Or the other measuring stick that they will use is your dialect. So if you talk, you know, guess they would say like ghetto or hood, or, you know, you kind of talk like, you know, you don't really have a formal education, you might get accepted a little bit more into the so-called black community. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. You probably will. And that's probably why you see a lot of so-called light-skinned women doing this, because they feel like, okay, well, if I act a little bit more, you know, ignorant on that level, I will be more accepted. And it's sad, because you don't have to do that, because we are not a monolith, and it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be yourself. The so-called black community has such a long way to go. Such a long way to go. But, you know, I will not be held back. I've never been held back within this community. You know, I've always strived for more, and I've always remained myself. And I've never allowed other people in the so-called black community to intimidate me, okay, by the way I talk, okay, or by the way I look, or I choose to look, you know, or try to intimidate me because of my skin tone that I have no control over. No. And that's how you have to be. You have to walk in your, you know, your phenotype, okay? Walk in your skin tone, walk in your phenotype, and just walk in who you are, you know, however you were raised. Walk in that. But don't ever try to be something that you're not to fit in. And sometimes you do have so-called black people in the community that will, you know, kind of try to draw you in and test you. That's a big thing in the black community, trying to test you, trying to test your blackness, trying to test this and that. Look, I've had people try to test my blackness so much, and you know what? They get checked right on the spot. Because even though they may be like, okay, she talks this way, but look, try me and you will get checked. Okay, you will get checked, because you're not going to bully me. You're not going to call me out. You're not going to make me feel some certain kind of way, because you're going to end up being the one that gets embarrassed. So I'm not going to make this video too long, but we are not a monolith in the black community, and it really needs to stop. So-called black Americans, you know, they add to the pot. They make it worse because of the things that they do to one another, which I just said, testing others on their blackness, you know, making others feel inferior to them because they're not as dark skinned, or they don't talk a certain way. That's just absolutely ridiculous. It is. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I feel like so-called black Americans were so much more intelligent, like in the early 1900s, you know? It's like, what happened? I mean, you can look at the pictures, old pictures in the early 1900s of the so-called black Americans. And it's just like, what happened? What happened to this culture? It's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing. But you can set the standard, you know, and you can change the trajectory by how you present yourself out in the world and how you carry yourself. And if you are a light-skinned so-called Black American, you know, we have a lot of power in society when it comes to views on our culture. Believe it or not, we have a lot of power, because the majority, you know, of other cultures, you know, when they're looking at us and they see, you know, they're like, oh, okay, the so-called Black culture has an array of different shades, you know. We are able to set examples, and not only light skin. I don't want to just make it like my whole channel is just like I think light skins are better, because I don't. But you have, you know, you have darker African Americans or so-called Black Americans too that don't feed into that, you know. So it's not even about the shade, but I'm just saying, like, for light skin, since my channel does kind of cater to more light skin Black Americans, we have a lot of power to change the trajectory and to kind of flip those stereotypes. We don't have to feed into those stereotypes. We can show the world that, look, yes, I am identified with this culture, but I am not like what you see on TV. I am a human being just like everyone else. And I am trying to survive out here just like everyone else. But I will not be stereotyped, and I will not be put in a box. If you are light-skinned and proud of it, do me a favor. In the comment section, type LSPI, LSPI, and let me know that you're light-skinned and proud of it. I'll see you guys on my next video.